Peace. Welcome back to episode 75 of No Truths Barred, the best up and coming podcast on the internet. I'm your host, Toyka Waken Timmons. I want to thank you guys for tuning in to the previous 74 episodes. Also, if you want to listen to the audio, all episodes of No Truths Barred are available on Spotify, SoundCloud, and Google Podcasts. This year coming up, I want to really work to get No Truths Barred on iTunes as well. So that's something to keep an eye out for. If you have not done so already, make sure you subscribe to the No Truths Barred YouTube channel. All of my visual content will be available in its entirety on my No Truths Barred YouTube channel. And once again, I want to thank everybody that's offered a piece of support. Click the like button, a comment, constructive criticism. And I want to thank all of the guests that have been on my platform as well. I deeply, deeply thank you. I look to continue to grow this platform out for the remainder of 2021 and going into 2022 with some dope momentum. So, without further ado, I have a guest on, and I think we've been following each other on social media for the past 4 or 5 years now. And this sister, we don't just chop it up for the podcast. Sometimes we'll just chop it up just to share knowledge, experiences, wisdom, information. And so it's really dope to have her on today. This has been a long time coming, straight from London, straight from Wales, straight from the UK, and the first lady of the Whole Division podcast. I have Miss Chitty in the house today. How you doing today?
Hey, hi, I'm doing great, and it's amazing to be on with you today. I've been so excited all week. I'm having a discussion with Hoyt, even though we have our discussions, even though you have been on, you've come over to our platform so many times, and I'm so grateful for your energy and for the, just for everything, the support that you put into the podcast that I'm running. So I'm thankful there, but it's just so nice and it's so amazing to finally be on your platform. I'm here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And listen, it's an honor to have you on because like when I tell people with No Truths Barred, and people ask me, like, why do I do the platform in the format that I do it in? So every episode, I want you to take away something, like something that you can learn. And I feel like the conversations that you and I have had, people can gain a lot from them. And I had the whole podcast on previously. And I think my brilliant comrade and fellow Taurus, DJ Sticky Fingers, was on the podcast as well. And your whole team is dope. I love what you guys are doing. And, anytime I can share or just like big you guys up, it's dope because I think you guys have, one of the best up and coming podcasts in the UK. And I hope everybody's checking for you all and you guys continue to grow your platform. So I want to shut up for a little bit. And, this is your first time solo on my podcast. So for the people that's going to check this out, give the people a little bit, of a background about yourself, some of your interests. And just your uniqueness in general.
Okay, so as I said, my name's Chidi. Chidi Jarvis. I live in the UK. I was originally born in London. I now live in a place called Wales, and I'm just a very, very highly intuitive, spiritual person, spiritual being. I love to learn. I love to unlearn to relearn. I love to look at things, with an open view. I love to research. I'm just an open book. I love to just be open and to be free. I think that, growing up and stuff, there were a lot of things. My background, my family are Caribbean. So there were a lot of things we weren't allowed to look into. We weren't, anything, if we tried to look into astrology, if we tried to look into, and it's like, oh, it's black magic. You can't look into any of that. It's the devil's work. And, I grew up feeling different. I always felt very, very different. And then when I got to a certain point, I feel that, I say I feel, but I had a spiritual awakening. And for me, that was just the beginning. And then, I've had many awakenings after that, but it's always, life is about learning and growing and learning the different lessons that life has to offer. So yeah, I'm just like, I'm here for it.
Yeah, I heard Sylvester Stallone, well, he compared the human experience to being like wet clay. And we have these experiences that make imprints on us in life. But all of these experiences, they may make an imprint on us. We don't define ourselves by the bad experiences, and we learn from them. And to your point, it's so crazy because I remember this. So I remember I just left high school, and I was just really curious about different belief systems. So I
Mm-hmm.
grew up in the church, and I remember I said, you know what? I want to read the Quran. Like, I want to know what's in it. And so
Yeah.
here in Richmond, we used to have this old bookstore called Books A Million. They went under, but this was like maybe 17 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So they went under, and I said, you know, I saw a Quran in there. I said, I want to buy it. And I remember when I picked it up and I was going to the cash register, I was sweating and I was nervous and I was scared because I remember growing up like the Bible's the only book. It's the end all be all. That's where all of the answers are at. And if you dare look at one of these other books, although Islam, Judaism, Christianity have the same root, I don't know why people are saying that, but if you look at any of these other books, you're going to hell. Or if you want to delve into your astrological chart, you're going to hell. Like, it took me years before I found out about my full natal chart. I stayed away from it because I brought into it. It's like, this is black magic. But the funny thing is, and I had a conversation with someone about this, the same things that different groups that, you know, if you're from the islands or if you would have been here in the United States, that would have presented you Christianity, but they would rape you, beat you. They would tell you that astrology is of the devil, is black magic. And this is coming from the same people that are oppressing you and whatnot. And I'm not saying, you know, I don't buy that your race determines your personality, but I'm saying that we learn to disdain these things from an oppressive, toxic source. And so I want to jump into astrology, right? We were talking about
Yeah.
this before we came on. A lot of people will be dismissive. Like, I've heard people say, hey, I'll date anybody, I'll associate with anybody. Astrology, it doesn't have any bearings on your personal life, your personality. You develop because of your circumstances. And I agree that you do develop to a degree to some of your circumstances. But
Mm-hmm.
for example, we know that the moon has an influence on, you know, sleep patterns, the ocean, etc. So why wouldn't planetary bodies influence our personality? And so what I want to jump into here is, first of all, let's put out what is your sun sign, right? And what characteristics of your sun sign you think are most prominent? And what do you think are some misconceptions about your sun sign?
So I'm a cuspy, so I'm Taurus Gemini. Um, I would say, I know, do you know what? And I adore both my signs, both my sides. Um,
And you're
I
more
would say,
Taurus than Gemini, right? More Taurus than Gemini. I got
what,
that.
yeah, but yeah, I would say my heart is Taurus. Um, you know, Taurus traits. Taurus, they can kind of just sit back, analyze things. They're not judgmental in a sense. They can practice discernment, but they're not judgmental. Um, I find that, Taurians are quite grounded. They're like, okay, all right, cool, this is happening, but we're gonna deal with it. Then I do have my Gemini traits. So my Gemini traits, I think I use my Gemini traits as a defense mechanism. And I
Mm,
don't, it's not consciously, it's not something that you do consciously, it's very subconsciously. This is why I say that our zodiac signs do play a big part in who we are, in our personalities. Because I find myself when I am feeling vulnerable, or I feel like I'm being attacked, or I feel like that, I have to stick up for myself, my Gemini side comes out. And I will be loud and I will be boisterous and I will be in your face and I will show you that I am not afraid of you. There is no fear here. And
mm,
the defense mechanism. But then also I'm a very loving person. Gemini's are very loving, we're very understandable, but we can be indecisive also. And then we can be a bit heighty flighty, we can be a bit they say Geminis are two-faced. It's not that they're two-faced in the sense of they would betray you or they're not loyal. It's just that we do genuinely have two sides. And depending on the environment, depending on the situation or the people that we're dealing with, those traits can come out. It
mm,
happens. But then I
mm.
also have a Pisces rising. So I'm very much of an empath. I'm very
Ooh,
empathetic. I'm very intuitive. I'm very emotional. I could shut down and people could not hear from me for, the longest time. But then I can be so sociable. And so when I actually did my chart, because I got into star signs like a good 12 years ago. And when all I knew was about, my sun sign, and that was it. And then I started going into my rising sign. And then I did my whole natal chart. And then I learned about other charts from different religions, different parts of the world and whatever. And it does play a big part. When you look at it, you think, oh, wow. And then when you look up the traits of, like Pisces rising, you look at the traits of a Pisces, you think, oh, wow. And this definitely, it resonates with me. This is who I am. So yeah, I think it does definitely play a part in who you are and your personality. 100%.
Yeah, when I started to get into my natal chart, I started to do a deep dive. So I looked at like the Celtic zodiac.
Yes.
I looked at the what is it called? I think it's the Chinese zodiac, where I think like I was born in the year of the rabbit.
Yeah.
And I got into that. I got into numerology as well, which is slightly different, but I feel like numerology has a heavy role as well. But when I looked at my zodiac and my natal chart, and I tell people all the time, I tell people two things. If you're talking about somebody about your personal zodiac, keep it at a surface level. Because when I started to delve into my natal chart, and then like I'm talking about like, yo, what planets are in my fifth house? What planets are my I'm gonna tell you this, that fifth house and that sixth house tells you a lot.
So
And
important.
your planets in there like can tell you a lot, karmic lessons that you're supposed to learn. And like I just was like, yo, if someone could really understand your natal chart, they could kind of get a hold on how to really understand you in a negative way. Because when I was reading this, like I remember when I was reading like my first house. So what's in my first house, I'm gonna just kind of keep that to myself. And I'm like, man, this is really spot on how people tell me they interpret me, like how I present myself. And then for myself, my rising sign is in Libra. So yeah, so for me, like my rising sign, like it's like what how you come off. So for me, that with a Libra rising, I come off as diplomatic, peace loving, calm, laid back, easygoing. Like that's my presentation to the world. My Aquarius moon, though, my moon's in Aquarius, so my Aquarius moon makes me like I could be a little bit detached from people, and I've had people tell me that, like, I can be close friends with people, but I just have that space where I need to just be rock out alone. And it's not nothing bad, but it's just, and I never knew I was that way. But then when I really started looking how the moon sign affects it, then plus, not only am I a Taurus, but like you, I'm a cuspy as well. I'm an Aries Taurus cusp. So the Aries Taurus cusp is like, I have the best qualities of Taurus and then the best of Aries, but also some of their bad habits as well. So, for example, I have to relegate myself because I can have the tendency, if I'm not careful, to try to dominate in certain aspects. Because you have Aries, which is the ram, and you have the bull coming together. And now here's a negative, and I didn't know this, and it made me ashamed to admit that I'm an Aries Taurus cusp. A lot of dictators were born in that cusp.
Yes, a lot.
So like Pol Pot, Saddam Hussein, another guy in Germany who was so evil I don't want to mention. And it's like, man, it's a really dark side to that if you don't manage like certain things. So you have that, but then the other part of Aries Taurus is that like if we believe in something, we keep going, we become innovative. We have a work ethic and a determination that can't be wavered. And so that's a beautiful thing as well. But I tell you this is the thing that surprised me about my natal chart, right? Is when I looked at like, I'm not going to tell what planet or whatnot was in there, but when I looked at my seventh house, it explained a lot about why my relationships go the way they go.
Okay, yeah. Mine too.
And then I'm looking at it like, and I thought about it growing up, and so many people will be dismissive of it. And I'm like, I look at your natal chart as a tool that you can use in this life. I don't think it's a bad thing or it's demonic. It's something that you can use to your benefit because it allows you a deeper and even a more cosmic understanding of your own personality.
That's correct. I fully agree. And it was like, even just today, I was watching a video on TikTok. I love TikTok. And may I say as well, also, I love your videos that you put out on TikTok.
Oh,
I
thank you. Thank you.
really, it's so nice. I think sometimes, like I watch your podcast. I'm subscribed to YouTube channel and stuff, and I watch them. But it's so nice sometimes to just see them on TikTok and just have the quick videos, and you give so much information in such a short space of time. So I just wanted to thank you for that.
Thank you.
And
Thank
after
you.
I watched your video today, I was scrolling through, saw yours, and then it was you did a hip hop one. It was talking about like the different hip
Oh
hop
yeah,
artists.
yeah.
And then after that, there was a video, and it was a guy talking about star signs. He's saying how people are saying star signs are demonic and they derive from the devil and those kind of things. But then he also said, how can anything that is anything that sort of descends from the sun and the moon, and that's the planets and the earth and everything that was made by God, how can it be demonic? Why would these things be demonic if it kind of sums you up as a person? Or, and he started talking about the sun and the moon and stuff. And I thought, well, yeah, because that was the argument that I used to have about me and my grandmother. We used to get into really like bad arguments about star signs and stuff. And it wasn't until, just before she passed away, we had a conversation about it. And she said to me, you know what, I kind of been doing my research about and reading up on these things. And yeah, there's nothing about the devil in there. I think it's a tool. I believe that it's a tool that's been gifted to us by the universe to use. Same as, numerology, same as, why has the moon got so many phases? Why does the sun do what it does? It's how can that be demonic? I just don't understand it. I know that's definitely something maybe we could talk about like at a later date. But I just think, yeah, I agree with you. They do play a part in who we are. And it's funny because you said that did you say your moon was in Libra?
My moon's in Aquarius. My sun is in Taurus, and my rising is in Libra.
Your rising is in Libra. So it's so funny because before when we were having a conversation, I thought you have got a lot of Libra traits. You have. And then my sign, the Gemini sign in me, Libra, we resonate. That's how it's communication. So we communicate very, very well. Then your moon is in Aquarius. I get along with Aquarius, Gemini, Aquarius. We get along so well. And then obviously you're a cuspy. I'm a cuspy. But Gemini and Aries, yeah, they're gang. That's gang. That's soul gang. So I think it does play a big part in the relationships and the conversations that you have with people as well. Because see me and Capricorn, I ain't got time for them. Like I will make time for them, but I'm like, you're a Billy bullshitter. I can't talk to you. My grandmother was a Capricorn. If she wasn't my grandmother, I don't think I would have had the same amount of respect for her because we used to really get into it and argue. Yeah. And I find when I speak to Capricorns, we argue. My mum's a Sagittarius. I don't know if you know about Sagittarius, but they're hard work. They're hard work.
Listen, and that's what I was about to jump into, the signs we don't mess with. You pointed it out. You know what it is about Sagittarius people? It's like, they feel like, to me, they come off like they're not grounded. It's like, they're unreliable. That's like, in my experience, it's like Sagittarius people feel like there's no, like, if you're friends with them, it's like, they'll just cut off your friendship for any, like, it's just like they're not reliable, they're not solid, they're not grounded. I was one of the absolute worst relationship I ever had in my life was with a Sagittarius woman. I mean, it was awful.
A lot of people say that.
I do not rock with Sagittarius people. I'm gonna tell you who's a really cool zodiac sign on the low is Cancer people.
Yeah, Cancers are cool. They're emotional.
They're super nice, but super duper emotional. But at the same time, they're super dangerous too, because Mike Tyson is a Cancer, and so if you ever watch Mike Tyson's podcast, he's real vulnerable and emotional and transparent, but he's so dangerous at the same time, and that's how Cancer people are.
one of my friends is a Cancer, and he said about Mike Tyson before, and he said that he watches like a lot of his videos, and he can really relate to him and it's crazy because their personalities are pretty much the same. Cancerian, if you hurt a Cancerian, or if they feel that you hurt them, woo, you're in for it.
Yeah,
They're coming for you, and they ain't stopping until
yeah.
they hurt you. Sagittarius, I hear what you're saying about Sagittarius. Like I said, my mum's a Sagittarius, and they can be hard work. I know how to be in a Gemini. I can just, kind of adapt and just to suit her. But then she's also got a Gemini rising. So then that is
Ooh.
the Gemini rising in her
Uh-huh.
resonates with me. So I pull those traits out, because if I focused on Sagittarian traits, I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
There's no way.
It,
It's hard work. Yeah, they're hard.
Yeah, and also another thing I've heard about Gemini, and I think this is true because Tupac, Kendrick Lamar, Biggie were all
Yeah.
Geminis, right? Geminis are like extremely creative people. Like you
Very.
guys are like the artsy sort of people from what I've read. Like
Yeah,
you guys are when it comes to creation and art, music, things that
yeah,
things that invigorate the soul. You
yeah.
guys kind of have a certain frequency that you can tap into that. So I know that
Mhm.
I've heard and recognized that too about Geminis. So I want to touch on one last point about the astrology. So you being a Gemini, what are some of the biggest? Because I know for Taurus, there's some huge misconceptions. What are some of the biggest misconceptions about Gemini?
Biggest misconceptions, definitely, as I pointed out before, that we're two-faced. We get called two-faced. We get called, basically psychos. We get labeled as the psychos of the zodiac sign. They say we're crazy. They say it's not that we are crazy. It's just that we can take a lot. We take
Mhm.
a lot. But then when we reach our point, that is it. And a little switch goes off and we blow. And everybody gets it. We get loud. We get angry. It's wild. It's crazy. When a Gemini kicks off, it's crazy. Like even, with me. But then you got to kind of check for when you were born, and and those kind of things, because I'm a May Gemini, obviously Taurus Gemini cusp, but May Gemini. And then I got one of my best friends, she's a June Gemini. And we're very much the same, but very much different at the same time. Like June Geminis, I find, especially women, they're very materialistic, and they're very, everything's got to be sparkling and everything, very money orientated. Whereas May Geminis, they don't give a fuck. They'll just be like, yeah, I'm happy to do whatever. Do you get me? They're kind of free spirits, very hippie like, and it shows as well. So I think with Geminis, yeah, we get a bad rep for being, they say we gossip. It's not that we gossip, we just say what we got to say. Um, and we say it so blatantly, people are like, whoa, they're always talking shit. But we're not talking shit, it's just we're just saying it. And the same thing I would say to you, I would rat out someone to you, but then I would go and say that shit to their face after saying it to you. And I would say it word for word. For what I
Yeah,
said to you, I would say to them, but we do get a bad rep for those kind of things. They say we're not trustworthy, and we're not, but we're trustworthy, but you just can't fuck with us, because when you hurt us, we won't go out of our way to hurt you, but we will just go crazy and it'll get wild. So yeah, Gemini.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and the funny thing is like, and when you get into your natal chart and your sun sign, even that is
Mm,
more nuanced because then you got to know which decon are you born in because there's three of them.
yes.
So like you have
Yes.
your three decons, and that speaks to the fact where, for example, I'm a Taurus, right? I'm an April 22nd Taurus. My brother
Okay.
is a May Taurus. We're alike, but like you said, radically different because he's a May
Yes.
Taurus and I'm an April Taurus. So we still fall
Mhm.
under that same sun sign, but he's like in the middle of Taurus, whereas I'm on that cusp of having Aries influence in my sign as well. And when you get into that, you see like, because some people, when you talk to most people, they'll just be like, "Oh, we're both Gemini's, or we're both Libras, we're both Virgos." But okay, what if you're a Virgo born September 17th, and then this other
Mhm.
Virgo is born August 31st? This other Virgo is
Mhm.
closer to the Leo cusp, and they're going to have some radical differences from the Virgo born April 17th. And
Very
I'm just
true.
thinking about April 17th because I think that's Nas's birthday. So that's probably
Yes.
why I'm thinking of that date. But you're gonna have those differences. It's so radically different. So real quick, for my misconceptions about Taurus is that we're lazy.
Yeah,
That's
you're
the
not
thing.
lazy.
No, listen. I bet Sticky is the hardest working person you've ever met in your entire life. I'm just saying, but the misconception is that we're lazy. So let me clear the air. Sources are not lazy. It's just that we operate in a binary. If it's something that is boring to us and we don't feel it, we don't care. We're like, I'm not doing this. I'm not wasting my time. I'm not gonna
Yeah,
do it. Or if you
yeah,
or like if you get us to do something that we truly aren't connected with, we'll kind of half-ass it. We'll be like, well, I got it done. But
mm,
here's the other misconception, and it's going to tie into this point. We're also incredibly stubborn. Now, that to a degree, I will agree with it.
yes.
Sources, once we have our mind made up about something, it would take
Hmm.
an act of God to change us. Like if we believe in something, this is why like a lot of Tauruses can be successful at business and other things because when everybody else is like, nah, I'm not feeling it no more. If we believe in it, the key thing is we have to believe in it. We have to be behind it. If we believe in it and we're behind it, we're gonna ride with it through the storm, the waves, and through everything. And so, yes, the stubbornness is a bad trait because sometimes we make up we'll get behind an idea and it's like, yo, it's not changed my mind. This is how I look at the world. I don't care. But then the flip side of that coin is that our stubbornness can lead us to great success because we just
Yeah,
have an indomitable will and we just won't really, we don't give up. We just are going to keep going and going and going with it until we see things through. So those are like, so, and the last misconception about Taurus is that we love to just sit around and eat food. And that one is true because I love to eat food.
that is
So
so
that,
true. That's the Taurus. The Taurus in me recognizes the Taurus in you because I love to sit
I,
around and eat food.
listen, I tell you this. If you ever want to get Hoyt somewhere, just say there's going to be food there, and I'll
Very
show
true.
up. That's all you got to do. There's going to be
Well,
food
you
there.
need to make it when you can. When the universe permits, you have to come to the UK. There's plenty of food here.
I would listen. Listen. That is a goal for 2022. I'm going to come over there, and I want to come on the podcast live, and we do something in person.
Nice.
So that's definitely on the radar. So
Yes.
listen, we were talking about empaths earlier. So for the people
Mhm.
that don't know, we mentioned this term, and I kind of will defer to you on this particular topic. Um,
Mhm.
what is an empath? Like if someone they're hearing this term for the first time, what is an empath? How do you know you're an empath?
So an empath is somebody that feels um everything, feels things that other people are going through. Somebody who's got more than, it's not sympathy. It's it's even more than empathy, even though the word empath, you know, it's even more than empathy. If you're going through something, right, I I always say I'm an empath. I identify as an empath. My um my personality type is INFJ, and I am an empath. I just feel like, I think even one time maybe I reached out to you and I said to you this and this, and I remember you coming back and saying to me, wow, that's so relevant to my life
I
right now.
remember that. Yep, I
Yeah,
remember that.
and it happens to me a lot because I just feel things. um I think, you know as an empath, I knew that I was an empath because I would, people would be going through things and I didn't even need to have a conversation with them. I would just know. And they would be like, but how did you know? And then I would get really, passionate and upset about certain things. And even my teachers in school used to say to me, but why is it so important to you? Why are you getting so upset? Even my mum, why are you getting so upset? And I'd be like, I don't know. It really just, oh. And it was more than, it just bugs me, it just annoys me. It wasn't that. It was because I felt it with my whole being. It got to a point where I would sit and I could have a conversation with somebody for the first time, and within 2 minutes of speaking to them, I could sum that person up very quickly. I would know, I would feel them. And it's like the intuition is it's so high and it's intense. And so
Mhm.
that's why sometimes you have to take yourself. It's hard living life as an empath. You really have to learn how to adapt to it. And you really have to not, You have to find a balance of taking on board other people's problems and just being an empath and guiding them and helping them. We've all been sent here for us, we've all got our sole purpose, we've all got different purposes. And sometimes you're just sent to help certain people, or you're in a situation that person might need you, or there might be something that you've done or that you can understand that another person needs that guidance, or something that will resonate with them or you. Being an empath is a blessing. I always say it's a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing because you're able to help people and you're able to understand, but it's a curse in the sense of because you take and you absorb, you take on and you absorb the other people's problems. You absorb their energy. It's about energy. It's not even just about feelings and emotions. It's about energy. It's about synchronicity. It's about all of those things combined. And you take that, even sometimes, when you might be in the presence of someone, you're like, I don't even like their energy. Or you might have had a situation where it makes you feel, oh my God, this is really emotional and it hurts. And you feel it physically.
Yeah.
And then you might find yourself that being in sync with somebody and you're like, whoa, how is this happening? Well, as an empath, you combine all of those things and then some, and that's how intense it gets. I know you understand the feeling of being an empath, because to me, I mean, I don't know if you call yourself an empath or you identify as one, but I would say you display a lot of traits as, that shows you're an empath. There's a lot of things that you understand that not the average person, somebody who doesn't actually look into emotions, or somebody who doesn't actually look into energy or understand it in that way. They might not even know they're an empath. There are people out there who don't even know until they actually learn about it and they think, oh, this kind of, I can relate to this. But yeah, being an empath is tough, man. Definitely.
Yeah, it's an amalgamation of a lot of different things, because you're like that beacon, you're that lighthouse for the hurt, the broken, because part of your role in this incarnation as an empath is to be a healer. You're a
Yes.
teacher as well, you're a guide. You're one of these corporeal guys that are here for broken people, because like we were talking about it, there, we're going to get into the narcissist aspect later, but there's it's we have to be comfortable with the uncomfortable relationship that we're here to heal, and we're going to attract the narcissist. And there's actually a symbiotic relationship. We don't like it, and many of us, because we turn our nose up at astrology, we turn our nose up at these sort of sciences. I consider them sciences. We don't really know what's going on. And for a big period of my life, I would just see things and I didn't really know how to put it in the proper context. So for a good example, to go all the way back to when I was in kindergarten here, and I remember my kindergarten teacher would say this, like if I was in class and one of my classmates would get upset and they would start crying, I would just start crying with them.
Yeah.
And it was like, I don't know why I would do it, but I would just get upset that they were upset. And I had this habit of doing that, and I think empathy has to be regulated, because as much as we want to be empaths, we also have to, I think part of the lesson that we're supposed to learn, the karmic lesson, is to learn to set up these boundaries and assertiveness, because as much as we want to be empaths, there are predators, there are people that seek to exploit that. So now your lesson is, how do you heal but be a stern healer? You heal with strength, you heal with discernment, and you know when to cut ties, you know when to back away, you know when to say, hey, this is a toxic situation here. And you're not trying to better yourself, you're just trying to bring down and drain away from my energy. And so it is a gift and a curse. It's a gift in the fact that we need more empathy, we need more understanding, we need more care. And on a lesser degree, I think as a man, as men, I speak for myself, I don't identify as an empath, because we're taught to sever emotions. We're taught to not embrace emotions. So a lot of times we may look at some of the tenets of being an empath as being soft or weak. So a dude, you would just not even acknowledge that side of yourself, because once again, we're still living under a certain, patriarchal, structure. And so men aren't allowed to really exhibit or openly exhibit those traits that the universe gave to them as a gift. And then the curse is that as beautiful as it is, that beauty can also attract a lot of darkness. That beauty can also attract a lot of, like I said earlier, broken souls, you know? And the problem with that is that we love big, we care big, we embrace. I think we have an understanding of nature that many don't. Let
Yes.
me ask you this. I don't know if you've done this, but I do it. When I'm leaving out of my apartments, right? And if a squirrel runs across the street, I break to let it
Yeah.
go.
Yes. Yes, I
Okay.
do. I don't kill spiders.
Listen, I will take a bug and put it in something and throw it outside.
Yeah.
Because see, the way we're looking at it is, if you take away civilization, you take away society, what do we become? We're a part of a genetic and natural network that keeps life going on this planet. So why me as a human being? Why am I more important than the spider? Why is my life worth saving? But I can kill the spider, or I can kill the squirrel that's trying to run across the street, that's operating on its nature like I am. You know?
Yeah. Still alive. And it's still, it's still living. Even plants, like I won't go and buy a house plant because I know for some reason, well, I'm better now. I keep my plants outside, but I used to buy house plants, and they always used to die, and I used to get real upset. Like one time I cried. I phoned my grandmother when she was alive, and I said to her, "What? I've killed this houseplant again. Like, what's going on? Why have I killed another
Mm,
one?" And it really upset me. And she said to me, "Because you have to learn on how to look after them. You have to give it the right, amount of nurturing and right amount of water and those kind of things." And she said to me, "It's the same as with human beings. Sometimes," but she said, "you are going to come across, as human beings, as an empath, where you cannot fix them. Some people, it's not down to you to fix them. You are just supposed to give them, your energy is put there in their lives for a reason, for them to learn something, and for you to learn something. Might be your lesson, might be their lesson, who knows? But either way, you're still going to learn. So you have to, and this is where, I wasn't, I was so big on being an empath, and I'm like, oh my God, this is my gift. I recognize my gift now. I know what I can do. So I got to help people. So then all of a sudden, the light started shining, and the moths started coming in. And you attract moths. That's what you do. And the moths would come in, and I'd be like, okay, it's fine. I can fix this. I'm not gonna squat this moth. I'm gonna help it. I'm gonna put it back up there. But it's just attracted to the light. And then also as well, one thing that I've come to realize throughout my self-development journey is that sometimes you might, attract a moth, and but you see a light in them. But that light you see in them is just a reflection of you. That's you. That whole time you say, no, but I know this person's a little bit, a little bit damaged or a little bit broken or it needs healing or whatever, but I see a light in them though. There's that light, it's shining. No, no, no. Sometimes that is just a reflection of you. Everything that you put into that person, the energy, the good energy, and the empathy that you feed that person, it's going to shine back at you because that's what you want to see. You see the good. So, and now that good, sometimes looking back at you, is just what you've instilled in them. So in turn, it's you. It ain't actually them. Because then when, if for instance, if you and that person fall out now, all of a sudden, sometimes when you might look at a person and you think, oh my God, this person ain't shit. And that's because the light's been taken away. You've gone. So you've been taken away. That light is no longer shining. And as an empath, that burns. It can hurt because you think, oh my God, I have failed my mission. I haven't even done what I was set out to do. Yes, you have. And it just, unfortunately, as a human beings in this human experience, they reveal themselves. And that is what happens. That is not down to you. It's just down to you to learn the karmic lesson, as you said. And also as well, what I wanted to touch upon throughout my journey, what I've learned as an empath too, is I wasn't so big on boundaries. I didn't have no boundaries. I would allow anybody in the sense of, yeah, I can help them. I can help them. I can handle this. No, because I'm a human being too, as well as being a spiritual being. I'm also a human being too. So now what I do is, so what I did is I went and did the relevant courses, got the relevant qualifications, to exercise my empathetic ways. So when I'm being an empath and I'm giving advice and I'm helping people to heal, I'm getting paid for that shit because it's going to be my job.
There you go.
That was a boundary that I put into place for me, because I found that when I was doing it and just trying to help any and anybody, I'm doing this shit for free. And at the same time, I'm lifting them up and they are ripping me down. Whereas if I do it professionally, by putting it, that professionalism is putting a boundary in place. It is my profession. I've got the relevant qualifications. I've got that certificate up on the wall, and I can counsel you. I can have one-to-one sessions with you. You're gonna pay me, and anything that you're going through ain't gonna fuck up my world, because it's my job to help you.
Mm-hmm.
We're not involved personally, but I'm still helping you, and I'm still exercising my empathetic ways. So yeah, I think we have to be real clever about it. But it is a learning curve. It's taken me years. I'm 35. I knew I was an empath from the age of 11. It's taken me from the age of 11 to 35 to actually realize, oh my God, this is what my sole purpose is. This is what I need to do. And, thankfully I'm getting paid for it now. But I haven't always been getting paid for that shit. A lot of people, it's brought a lot of hurt and a lot of heartache and a lot of, it's left me questioning myself sometimes. It's like, oh my God. And it's left me a little bit, traumatized in regards to friendships and some relationships, intimate relationships or whatever. But I'm finally at a point where I'm like, okay, I realize now I just need to get paid. So it's, it works out. It works out for everyone, really.
Yeah. And I think a lot of times too, in this life, in this incarnation, just like you have certain animals that survive because they're like a virus and they have to find a host to latch onto. And they have to extend their life form through that. So they're a virus and they need to find a host. And I think that takes place on the spiritual realm as well. And so as empaths, we do attract people that are broken and they do need healing. And guess what? Some of those people do have a light in them. But then I also believe that there are people that are spiritual parasites. They have no light and they have to latch onto your light for their own spiritual sustenance. There are people that will reach out to you that need to dump their emotional baggage on you, their trauma on you. And if you and I started to notice this in my life with certain people, I'm like, whenever they call me, it's like drama. It's something horrific that they're going through. And this is the only time I hear from this person. Or people in all my life. What'd you say?
I gotta ask you a question, you saying that. Have you ever, or do you ever get it when your phone rings and you look at your phone, you see the name and you instantly feel sick, or your stomach?
Yes. It's and so yeah, definitely. It's like, and that's the point. It's like there are people in my life that I've met over the course of my life, and I could never explain it when I was a kid. I didn't know what it was. But when I would leave them, and I guess let me flip, well, I want to kind of keep going with this point, but I would leave and I would feel depressed. I feel tired. I would feel like empty when I would leave. And I'm like, why is it every time I'm around, this person right here or that person or this relative or this friend, I have this like drained, heavy feeling when I leave from around them. And what it is they needed to attach themselves to my spiritual battery. They needed that. And I didn't get any sort of energy in return. But then on the opposite side, there are people that when I link with them, the vibration is high. And when I leave the conversation, I feel good. I'm invigorated. I'm happy. And it's like on the opposite end, have you ever like got a phone call and you see the name and you're like, yeah, okay, cool. I'm glad they're hitting me up. The conversation is going to be high energy. There are people that when they call you, it's always drama, it's gossip, it's all these low vibrational topics. And I think one of the objectives that we have in this incarnation, right, is to evolve spiritually, is to always seek to reach that next level, like to become that ascended master, to access the Akashic records. For those of you that like to, get into that thing as well, we're trying to aim for that. And then when you meet people where everything is based around all of this low level subject matter, all of this low level information, drama, gossip, and just things that don't really edify the soul, you leave there feeling drained. And so I think you have a lot of those people in life where they have no light. They don't. They can cultivate it, but see, they don't have to cultivate it because they're magnanimous enough, charismatic enough. We call these people narcissists. They know how to manipulate and latch onto those that do have the light, which leads me into my next point here, or topic, tying it to the empath. There seems to be this relationship here between the empath and the narcissist. Um, I read a few articles recently that was talking about how social media is enhancing like narcissism, sociopathy as well. And my question to
Yeah.
you, being that we're on this topic, I'm noticing it more and more when I meet people, whether it be online, whether it be in day-to-day interactions. There seems to be an inclination towards narcissism. It seems to be on the rise. What's your
Mm.
opinion? Why do you think this is becoming more common to see these traits in a lot of people nowadays?
So I think, obviously we went through, as a society, we've been through a lot over the past 18 months. And especially last year when it was, the beginning of everything that we just went through. I won't say too much on it because, you can't say certain words now.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people had time. We had time as a collective to think. We had time as a collective to really, really look into things. I know I did. I've always known what a narcissist is. I just didn't want to see. I didn't want to see that. I don't want to hear it because to me it was just like, ooh, narcissist. It was like a swear word. It was like, ooh, don't say that. It's evil. We've all got narcissistic traits to a degree. The narcissist now is the controller, the manipulator, the gaslighter, the person who is not happy with themselves, so they just want to fuck up everybody else's world. The dictator, the liar, the person that lives in their ego. True narcissism, I think now people are able to pick up on it as a collective, and social media is sort of putting those traits out there and boosting it because there are so many narcissists in the world. Listen, as much as they are, good people, empaths, people who want to put love and light out, people who want to do that, it is just as many narcissists. This world is yin and yang. We have to have balance. There's good and evil, dark and light. There has to be balance. So you've got your empaths, you've got your narcissists. And I just think now where people are becoming a lot more conscious, or they're actually tapping into their consciousness, they're like, whoa, okay, this is not correct. The way this person's behaving is not correct. And I think it's also generational as well, because I know I was having a conversation with one of my cousins, and we were saying about the generation, before us, like my mum's generation and that stuff. They did a lot of fucked up shit, but there's a lot of shit that they don't even want to, they don't want to admit, and they don't want to touch on. And when you do try to talk about, certain things that happened way back or whatever, they're like, oh no, it didn't go like that. That never happened. Why are you lying? That didn't happen. Oh, I never. You get those parents when they'll say, they used to beat their children or whatever and stuff. They say, oh, I never ever put a hand on my child. And then you get the child and one of the siblings looking at them as if to say, really? Are you sure you didn't? And they'll say no. They don't remember. They get amnesia. That's narcissism. That's gaslighting. And they'll say, I don't know what you're on about. I just think it's becoming more common because people are seeing those traits now and they're looking at it. And when you can go through, I did this, it was like this test that came up on Instagram. It was like a post, and you could click the link and you could do a test. And I did the test and I answered the question. And at the bottom of it, the results of the test were saying, you're dealing with a narcissist. And I was like, well, so at the beginning, I didn't know there was anything about narcissism. And he just told me you're dealing with a narcissist. And then they listed why, in accordance to how I answered the questions. And I was like, whoa. And then when I started really looking at this person, I thought, shit, they're a narcissist. Definitely. But you don't see it until I think because we're not necessarily looking for it, we don't really see it. But now society is making us more aware of what an empath and what a narcissist is. We're seeing the differences, and we can really pinpoint, those narcissistic traits in other people and what they are actually doing to you, and they're doing to us as a society as well. So yeah, I think that's why it's becoming more common.
Yeah, we have tools and we have terminology to identify these behaviors. And for a long
Mhm.
time, back in the day, you would just chalk it up to be like, yeah, Frank is an asshole. That's kind of like what you would say. Is like that, but then you realize, oh, Frank has some deep-seated issues. Frank has some deep-seated ways of like interpreting reality. But here's the thing about the narcissists is that a lot of them can be extremely charismatic. So you're
Yeah.
not realizing the damage and the trauma that's being inflicted because you're caught up in the charisma of the narcissist. But just like we said that we can teach and we can heal, the narcissist is also here to teach the empath. Because what you can learn and you can gain and you can extrapolate from the narcissist is that I do need my ego. My ego is a tool. And like you pointed
Mhm.
to, we all do have some narcissistic traits because if you don't have an ego, if you don't have a slight hint of narcissism in you, why go forward? Why create companies? Why create podcasts, YouTubes, all of these things? This is a product of your
Mhm.
ego. So an ego properly managed, an ego properly understood can actually be a help. So if I look at my ego as this is my tool, this is my vehicle to build my brand, to put myself out there, to have the courage to be a public
Mhm.
speaker, to have the courage,
Yeah.
to put my face on promotional materials, then I properly understand my ego. It's when it goes out of whack, that's when you get the narcissist. And so
Yeah.
if we have a proper duality, that's healthy because then that's an emotional homeostasis. It's balance, it's
Mhm.
equilibrium. But then once we start to diverge into excess, you get to the narcissist. And then, if you get into excess with being an empath, you're going to become a person that just gets habitually abused. You're going to become a
Yeah.
person that gets habitually exploited. And then what
Mhm.
that can do is that can actually turn you into a person that just has apathy or nihilistic because I know bitter and jaded former empaths where now they cut themselves off from the world. They don't
Yeah.
care about helping anybody. They're
Yeah.
all out for self because they're like, every time I
Mhm.
tried to help, I got exploited. Every time I tried to help, I always got the short end of the stick. And so
Mhm.
your job as an empath is to cultivate those traits that will not allow you to become exploited. But at the same time, you can serve your healing purpose to those that need it. And so I think social media is definitely a huge part in this spike of narcissism, excuse me, because a lot of times what we do is that we compare our everyday life to people's highlight reels.
Yeah.
And
It's a lot.
and a lot of times too, and I'm gonna be honest, I noticed that I was getting out of hand. So just to kind of put this out there about myself, I try to have, and this is kind of contradictory because I'm a content creator, I try to have a minimalistic usage of social media, which is hard because you want to promote your content, you need to do things like that. But I try to cut it off because I think like about maybe 2018, my social
Mhm.
media use was real bad. I wake up, first thing I'm doing is I'm hopping on Instagram. I wake up, first thing I'm doing is getting on Facebook. I'm scrolling. I'm looking, did I get a like on this post? Did I get a comment on this post? And I was just
Yeah.
obsessive about checking about those sort of things. And then I realized this is not healthy. And so over the years, I tried to gradually maintain a healthy distance between myself and social media. This is why I don't know if you brought this up one time, but this is why people are like, man, I inboxed you like 2 days ago and you didn't answer. That's because I log out. Like people don't understand. I log out, and when I'm out, I'm
Yeah.
out. Like for example, tomorrow I will not be on social media at all. I am going to
Okay.
be doing other things. I'm going to be enjoying time with family. I'm going
Yeah.
to be with Hoyt. That's her Hoyt day.
You're going
Social
to
media doesn't
do
have access.
you're going to live a real life. I'm not saying that social media is not real, but 90% of it ain't. And also, as well, just like yourself, I get people are like, but you just posted something and I've just messaged you. Listen, I post and I'm gone. I don't scroll, I don't look, I don't give a shit. Because I have a real, I have a real life, like a real I have a reality that I like to live. And people, and I think, when you're a content creator, I put a lot of content out there, I put a lot of
Mhm.
quotes and stuff. People depend on you. Listen, I came off social media one time for like a month, didn't post anything. You know the amount of people that message me or whatever. Oh my God, are you okay? Is everything okay? I even had a friend and she was like,
Yeah.
when I actually went back on, I posted something and she was like, oh my God, she's alive. And I'm like, but what stopped you from A, knocking my door because you know where I live,
Mm-hmm.
B, picking up the phone and calling me, or even sending me a text? You were waiting for me to go on. So the fact that I'm posting on social media is clarification that I ain't dead. I ain't dead because I'm posting on social media. So if I ain't posting on social media, I'm dead. Yeah, I'm gone. I don't exist. People are crazy. They don't realize. Listen, back in the day when we didn't have social media and it wasn't a thing, we would call our friends. We would go and see our people. We would just send,
Yep.
maybe even if we're mobile phones, we would just send an SMS. Remember those? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
people, even down to, oh, I WhatsApped you. Oh, I messaged you on Messenger. Just send me a text. Why
Yeah.
do you have, you
It-
know?
and if
That,
we
that
and
people,
yeah, and social media, it depreciates the wealth of the human experience because organic connection cannot be achieved on social media. I don't care how
it
you want to
can.
phrase it. I saw a quote, and I got this. I can't remember where I saw this at, but they said that the quote was at one point at one point we used the internet to escape the real world. Now we use the real world to escape the internet. And that's how I feel. I was telling somebody, whenever I take those social media breaks, I feel like a real person again. I don't
Yeah,
know. Like it's something about getting off of social media that grounds me. It's part of my grounding process. So people will say,
yeah,
"Hey, wait, did you see this post? Did you see that post?" And it's like, no, I didn't. It's not because I wasn't trying to, but I'm
yeah,
off. There are going to be bulks of, like, for example, tomorrow I won't be on. The next time I'm getting on social media will be Monday evening when I put this podcast up. So I'm gonna talk. We're
yeah,
talking about maybe the next 48 hours. Well, excuse me. Tonight I'm gonna be on social media, doing some stuff. But tomorrow and into Monday, I'm not gonna be on social media. But it's to
and
reclaim my space. Um,
yeah,
but that's part of my grounding process. And so, social media, it's a great tool, but for me, I have to step away from it. Like I have to have a day where it's like, yo, no social media. I'm gonna do some reading. I'm gonna do some meditating. I'm gonna go link with
yeah.
people in real life. That's what I'm gonna
In
do.
real life,
Yeah,
for me,
and
I'm
I'm
gonna
not
go
going
do
to like
next
look at
time.
people on the screen. So it's all
Yeah,
needed. But I want to jump into this last topic, which is a topic that you brought up, and I think it's a very powerful topic, and I think it's a topic that's going to touch people, that might be going through some things right now in situations.
yeah.
So I'm going to kick this over to you, and you
Okay.
mentioned the concept about going through situations and letting things go, but not letting those same situations and those things that you let go change you, which is really hard. So speak to that point, and we'll just build on that through the rest of the episode.
Okay, so I think sometimes as human beings, you know, we go through situations, we go through experiences with, external, it might be an external situation like things or just people or just something. And we're all going to go through something. It's life's lessons, it's a journey, isn't it? So, and I think, you know, I was speaking to one of my clients and she, was like sort of went through quite a bad relationship and there was a lot of rejection there from the other person, and then her thing was, how is she going to move on, how is she going to move forward, meet someone else and be able to accept another person and trust them, or trust
Mhm.
that it's not going to happen again. And I think this is where self-development comes in. You have to, I think when you go through situations with people, you really have to dig deep and look into yourself. Yes, we can talk all day about the other person. We can say, the other person did this or they did that. So, but I think it begins and it ends with you. Regardless, nobody can determine who you are but you. So you should never, it's easier said than done, yes, but you should never allow somebody to determine who you are, because you were a person before them and you're going to be a person without them. Sometimes you meet people and they're forever. You can have forever friends, you can have a forever partner or whatever, but then sometimes it just don't work out like that. Sometimes you're at different stages of your self-development journey, and you know, you might be ascending a little bit higher than that person, or the ultimate goal is to be the best version of yourself, a better version of yourself. And I think sometimes you get into situations with people and that doesn't kind of work out. But instead of looking at it and thinking, especially if you've been on the empath end, like I've been on the empath end of so I've been a narcissist in a relationship. I'll put my hands up and say I have. And but then on the other side, I've been an empath in relationships and stuff. And it's like you look at it and think, but I gave my all to that person. I tried to help them. I tried to, you know, be a certain way. I tried to work in a way that was going to benefit me and the person. I tried to show them the good in life. I tried to show them this, but they kind of just fucked me over. Yeah, that happened. So what are you going to do from that? So you got two options, and it's only ever two. You're either going to say, fuck this, I'm going to shut down, I'm going to be a cold person, I'm going to be, you know, I'm never going to open myself up to another person again. I'm never going to leave myself vulnerable. Listen, I will say something, and this is so important. Something's a lesson that I've learned. Vulnerability is power. Once you've been vulnerable to another human being, that takes a lot, whether it's a friendship, whether it's a relationship, whether it's family, it doesn't matter. Vulnerability is a superpower. So you need to take that superpower when you are moving forward after something that has happened in your life. And you need to take that and just use it as an experience. It's experience. It's what is going to help build you. It is what is going to help you move forward. It is what is going to help you elevate into into a better version of yourself. We cannot make ourselves a victim of circumstance. We cannot make ourselves a victim of a situation, when there is so much more that we can take from it. We can take the good and we can take the bad. We can say, you know, I've got love in me. I've got empathy in me. I've got all these things, and there is nothing wrong with me moving forward and still continuing to be that loving empath that I am. I am not going to change myself just because somebody showed me different. Seeing the difference is the balance. So yeah, that's my views on it.
It's and your vulnerability, like for you to go through a traumatic situation and for you to still retain your optimism, your love, your empathy, what it does, it shows that person that no matter how hard they try, they don't have that sort of governance over your personality, over the way that you're going to live your life. Because if I go through a traumatic experience, and we all have, where you've gone through those issues, whether it be a relationship, friendships, associationships, where it goes in a really negative, in a really dark direction, and you make a promise to yourself, you know what, going forward, I'm never going to help people again. Going forward, I'm never going to expose that side of my spirit again. And what you just inadvertently did, you became a slave to that other person's malevolence. You belong to them because they're no longer with you, but their intentions, their actions, their negativity, it could be even years later, it still has power over how you operate in life. And it goes back to a point I was making earlier, where the goal is to learn the lesson and adapt, but do not become to the point where it changes your fundamental essence, because you have to know who you are at your core. I know at my core, I'm not a cold and callous person. I can try to front like I can be cold and callous and be like, hey, the world is evil, the world is dark, and I can have this nihilistic view. And because the world is, or I perceive the world as being dark at a certain point in my life, because I'm going through a rough situation, then I'm going to be like, well, because people acted this way, I'm going to be cold. I'm going to be standoffish. I know I love to embrace people. I love to talk. I have an affable personality, and I'm not going to let anyone change that. And my vulnerability, as you stated so eloquently, your vulnerability is your center. It's your power, and it's your healing gift to this world. And so you cannot let one individual or one, and this is easier said than done, because trust me, I've been there. If you listen, when you listen to this and you're like, hey, that's far easier said than done, I understand, because I've been there. And I know how hard it is to let yourself love again when you just went through something traumatic. You know, I had an ex relationship where when it was over, I said things like, I'm never going to ever fall in love with someone again. I'm never going to do it. I'm just going to be cold. I'm going to be standoffish. But then I remember like a few months afterwards, I was thinking about it one day. I'm like, listen, she's going on with her life. She's doing different stuff now. And
Mm-hmm.
she still has control over me, but I don't have any control over her life.
Yeah.
She's gone. She's living. She's doing whatever it is she wants to do, but I'm letting the actions of this person control how I interact with people that had nothing to do with that situation at all.
Yeah.
And you know, I think the part of that it comes from spiritual awakening. So I know for me, one of my spiritual awakenings, and look, I'm still going through them because I'm still discovering more about myself. I'm still a work in progress. I'm by no means perfect at all. But one of my very first spiritual awakenings was that um at heart, at heart, I'm just an open-hearted person. And I have the tendency to put other people before myself. I have a tendency to not say no. I found it, and that's something that I had to cultivate. Like, it's okay to tell people no. It doesn't make you a bad person. It's okay to say, hey, I don't want to do this. I don't feel like doing this. And you could, and I always felt like if I tell somebody no, I have to have a compelling reason behind why I need to explain and give you all of these explanations. No, sometimes I'm a human being. This is my own space, my own autonomy. And if I don't want to do something, it's perfectly fine.
You know what I said to I was talking to a friend about certain things, and she was like, whoa, you've come a long way because you never used to say no to anybody or whatever. And I said, you know what I've come to the realization that because I don't want to is a perfectly good fucking answer. And that is and she was like, yeah, it is. And and we've kind of turned it into a mantra because I don't want to is a perfectly good fucking answer. I don't have to. It's okay to want to protect your energy. It's okay to want to protect your time. It's okay to want to protect your peace. It's about peace. And I think when we're giving to other people and when we're pouring so much into other people, there's never peace, fight. I know you know. I know you have been that person who has put 1,001% and more into another person, and everything is them, and your peace is always it gets put on a back burner so much that it doesn't exist anymore, and you don't have any peace from it.
I heard this somewhere. I feel like I heard Floyd Mayweather say this. I feel it was some boxer I heard say this, but they were like, a person that's a friend to everybody is an enemy to themselves.
It's an enemy to themselves.
And I think that's exactly what it boils down to, is that we get so caught up into pouring into everybody else's cup, but nobody's pouring into your cup. And how am I supposed to give when I'm empty? How am I supposed to give when I'm constantly in these toxic environments,
Yeah, you can't give to other people if, and I feel like, a lot of people will throw quotes out there and they will say a lot of things. And I'm like, but are you really, really just looking at it as a quote, or are you really feeling it? Because some things I really feel, and I'm like, how the hell am I supposed to do this? Listen, I read somewhere, well, I wasn't reading, I think I was watching a YouTube video with this woman, and she said, you even got to put yourself before your kids, before your children, and I was like, whoa, I wouldn't put myself before my child. And I was like, but wait, let me listen to what she's saying. And she said, because if you don't put yourself before your children, who the hell is going to look out for them? Who is going to be there for them? So sometimes you even got to say, nah, I'm having a day to myself. I need a day for my mental health. I need a day where it's my space and there ain't no kids around. There's nobody, no family, no nothing, just you. Because if you don't look out for you, who's going to take care of them?
Yeah, you have, and see, self-preservation is not a bad thing. And I would think I was always under the concept that if I put self first, I'm selfish, I'm a narcissist. No, I'm just preserving myself, because when I preserve myself, when I make sure that I'm good, I can then go out and be better at helping others. And another negative quality that I had was that I could be in a deep state of depression, going through anxiety, all types of wild shit. And if anybody dialed my phone, I would pick it up and just suck up everything I was feeling just to make time to talk to them. And I realized as I got older, hey, I don't have to answer the phone. And it doesn't mean that I'm being rude. It doesn't mean that I'm an a-hole. It just means that my headspace is just not for talking to you right now. And it's
You can't
perfectly
take on
fine.
other people.
And I
You
don't
can't
owe
take
you
on
an
other people's shit.
explanation.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, what you
Imagine,
say?
no, you can't take on other people's shit when you're going through your own shit. Because I did that shit for years, Hoyt. I did it for years. And then I finally broke down. I ended up on antidepressants. It was bad. I got to a point where I was just like, I don't even want to be here. I don't even, if I could just close my eyes and not wake up, then shit would be gone and it would be okay. And I was thinking that way. And that was because I just pushed my feelings and my emotions and whatever I was going through. I pushed it right back to the point where it didn't exist anymore. And then I was taking on other people's stuff. I could be breaking inside, but no one would know because I'd be smiling and I'd be laughing and I'd still be, cracking jokes and stuff. But it's those people. It is those people. Look how many people have committed suicide. Look how many people who have taken their own lives. But, people will say, but he was so happy. But she was always smiling. You don't know what people are going through. So that's why I say to people, listen, I have so many people who go on at me and say, you never answer your phone and because I don't fucking have to answer my phone. I don't have to answer my phone.
Yep.
I will watch my phone ring. I will watch it ring and then I will carry on doing what I was doing because you don't know what I was doing. I've been up all night writing an essay. I've been up all night, doing work and stuff. I'm on my phone doing actual work. And you're just interrupting me now, so I'll get back to you. Don't ring off my phone and ring off my phone. If it's not life or death, don't ring off my phone like that. I will get back to you. And
Well,
even if it's 6 weeks time,
mm,
luckily I've got a circle now of elevated, people who
there you go.
understand the self-development journey. And if they can't get hold of me, if they don't hear from me for 6 weeks, when I catch up with them in the 6 week, in 6 weeks time, it's like it never happened because
You
they
know what?
understand.
And I agree. And let me add to that. What if this is just your day? It's a Saturday, and
What if it?
you don't have no work to do. It's just I'm in my quiet space right now,
Yeah,
and that's
and
it. That's
sometimes you want to take time out. You want to take time out, and you want to that's your day. Like mine, it always used to be a Wednesday. So I just used to take a Wednesday out and just chill. Now I work on a Wednesday, but I ain't saying what my day out is now because people will know it'll be out there and then it'll just bother me. But
yeah.
it got to the point where I changed my whole life pattern
Mhm.
and didn't even tell people. I don't even like the only people who know my days off are family, if anything happens or whatever. But other than that, I don't tell people my days off because people will bother you. Point, I don't bother a soul. I don't and that's because I realize and I know what it's like to want to have that time to yourself or want to,
Mhm.
have a day for yourself. But a lot of people, I think I don't know whether it's an insecurity in other people or just a lack of understanding, but they just don't get it. They really
Yeah.
don't. And it's quite sad, really. Solitude is a mess sometimes.
It really is. And I want to touch on a point that you had just made, and I guess I'm going to be a little bit vulnerable here. So,
Okay.
um, I had left college 2013, right?
Okay.
Um, um, and like I was done with it because I actually was done in 2012, but I had a few other classes I had to take. So technically, I was like done 2013. 2013 was like one of the worst years of my life. I mean, like bad. And but here's the weird part. It was one of the most social years of my life because I had a big friend network. I knew so many people, and people always wanted me to come to cookouts, link up, and do all these different things, right? But on the inside, I felt like taking myself out of the game.
Yeah.
I didn't feel worthy. I didn't have a high view of myself. Um, but I had this thing of if someone calls me and they want me to do something, I have to go. I have to show up, and they are miserable. And the other thing that started to happen is that when I would go and hang out with people, whether it was like one friend group or another friend group, I started to develop the bad habit of over drinking. So I
Yes.
would get really, 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 really drunk, like really drunk, because one, I didn't really want to be there, and it wasn't
Yeah.
necessarily because of the people, but it was just like someone could say something and just rub me the wrong way, and I would
Yeah.
drink myself to the point that I would be numb to the energy in those environments. And that wasn't a good habit because, I had some weird experiences that went on with that for another time. But it goes to your point of, people don't know what you're dealing with, people don't know what you're going through. And my whole frame of mind is, look, if we didn't have an argument, if we didn't curse each other out the last time we talked, let's say after this episode today, right? You
Yeah.
and I don't converse again until like February or March of next year. If I know that I didn't say anything crazy to Chitty, you didn't say nothing crazy to me, it was copacetic, everything was peaceful, then I'm just like, hey, she's living her life. And if it's 6 or 7 months from now when we chop it up again, so be it. Like, I'm not that person where I have to hear from you, whether it be, well, I mean, relationship is different, but I'm talking about friends. I don't need to hear from you like every week. If you living your life, you got stuff going on, and I know that we left it on good terms, I'm like, what's the issue?
What are you worrying for? That's what my friends like. I could not. One time, my bestest friend in the whole world, I didn't speak to her for a year. We didn't speak for a year. Whole year. A whole year went by. I didn't see her. We text maybe a couple of times. But then when I saw her, she actually messaged me. She said, "This is ridiculous. I ain't seen you in a year. Even though it don't feel like a year, I ain't seen you in a year." But then when we met up, it was like, but we were living life. We were so busy. And she was focusing on her career. I was busy being a mum, working and doing what I was doing. That's
Mm-hmm.
just how it is. But she never once thought that she'd done something to me. And I never once thought that I'd done something to her. Because it's about understanding that people have lives and we have things to do and we are not obligated to check in with people. When people will say, "Oh, I wonder if I did something, or did I do something? Did I do something wrong?" Well, do you feel you did something wrong? But do you feel that way? Because that's
Yeah.
on you. That has nothing to do with me. And I think, I don't know, people just tend to be quite selfish and self-absorbed these days instead of sometimes, what stopped you from, and then they'll also let it drag on to the point where there is a problem now. Because now you're just being funny when you could have just texted me or reached out to me. How are you? How's
Yeah.
the family? It takes nothing. And then
Yeah.
maybe, you can get an answer. Maybe sometimes one of my friends, I was messaging her, a couple of I'll message her, whatever, and I didn't hear back from her. I messaged her like about maybe 3 times in 2 weeks, and not once did she answer me back. But not once did I think I did something wrong. And then when she finally got in touch, she was like, "You know what? Every time I went to message you back, something happened. And I literally got caught up, and I'm so sorry." And I was like, "It's fine. I knew we were going to." And she was like, "Wow, you didn't even think that, you didn't even take it," because I knew I didn't do anything to you. I didn't do anything to you. So
Yeah.
what have I got to worry about,
Yeah, it is, and that's the whole. I guess that's my whole modus operandi is that if we left on good terms, it's cool. Like I have friends that I haven't spoken to like in a few months. It's no
Mm.
beef. It's just you're living your life, I'm living mine, and it's just as
Yeah.
we get older that tends to happen. Like we're
Mm-hmm.
not 19-year-olds where we don't
We're
have
grown.
anything going on, no responsibilities, and we could just chill in the garage all day and hang out. We're not that age no more. And as you get older, it's like I have things to do, I have things going on. I'm constantly, out networking. I'm just doing different stuff. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's this whole thing. It's just like codependent friendships that have to stop. We have to realize that we have our own space, our own autonomy, and that's a real thing. Let me ask you this. What are, you don't have to speak on anything directly, or if you wanted to, you can. Um, these situations you've gone through that were toxic, that were not for your own benefit,
Mm-hmm.
that left an emotional imprint. What were the steps that you took to make sure that you stayed true to who you are and not let that situation change you?
I took myself right back to the beginning of there was a situation. I say situation. There was a friendship slash relationship I had with somebody, and I had to take myself right back to the beginning and remember. And it was the the way it started was me being an empath, me seeing a light in somebody, me seeing that they had a voice, and it was they could use that to do so much good. And I just remembered and I thought, no, you know, I held accountability for the mistakes that I made. um,
Mhm.
held accountability for, the things that I did that maybe I could have done a little bit differently. But then I actually looked at it and I weighed it up and I weighed up the pros and cons, and I just looked at me as a person and them as a person, and I kind of tried to find a middle ground. Um, and I just put it down to the fact that I was put into that person's life for a reason. Nothing is a coincidence in life. So I was put into that person's life for a reason. I helped them. I gave them my knowledge. I gave them a part of me that would hopefully resonate with them. The good that is within me will hopefully resonate with them. And moving forward, they can take the good, positive affirmations that I gave them, words of affirmation, and they can work on that and develop into a better version of themselves. And then I looked at me and thought, how can you, as a person now, continue to keep being the person? Do you like yourself? That's what you have to say. Do I like the person that I am? Yes, I do. I do like the person that I am. Some shit that I do that I don't agree with, and I'm like, shit, don't ever do that again. And that's cool because it's fine. We don't have to like everything about ourselves, and things that we don't like, we can change, and that's fine. But I thought, how can you continue to be a good person moving forward without taking that situation and allowing it to kind of mess you up? And I said that to myself, and it's about boundaries. It's about having self-love. Self-love is not just looking in the mirror and thinking, "Oh yeah, I'm shit, I'm amazing." It's nothing to do with the physical. It's to do with the mental. It's about loving yourself mentally, loving yourself spiritually, loving yourself in a way that nobody else can. You are the person that you're going to spend the rest of your life with. So you have to say to yourself, "You know what? You have to do the things that are going to serve you. Do the things that set your soul on fire. Do the things that make you happy. Do the things that keep you grounded." So I just remembered who I was, because I think sometimes when you are putting yourself out there and you're being vulnerable to other people, you lose a part of yourself and you lose a sense of who you are in a way. So you just have to go back and you have to remember who you are and remember what it is that you love and the things that actually make you feel good. And that's what I started doing. And I was like, whoa. And it was almost like having memory loss and then doing things and they were coming back to you. And you're like, oh my God, I remember how this made me feel. Even just going and chilling with my friends, picking up a book and reading a book, like, and actually seeing the whole book through, actually writing down affirmations, actually, getting up and going for a walk early, really early in the morning to start your
Mhm.
day. Those type of things where sometimes when people around you, they consume so much of your time and your energy, you forget. So I think it's about looking after yourself and actually making yourself, it is okay to make yourself number one. It really is, because
Yep.
unfortunately we put people before ourselves. We do. We do it. Everyone does it. And it's not because we might be infatuated with that person or we might be, obsessed with that person. It's just sometimes we just tend to throw our energy into a person because we're like, "Oh, I just want to see them win," or I just want to, especially if your intentions are pure and your
Yeah,
heart's
yeah,
good.
yeah, very much
You
so.
see them win. I see so much in this person. Come on, you can do it. And you can almost see that they're kind of doing it or they're getting there. But then,
Mhm.
unfortunately, some people they will, elevate, and then some people will just mess up. They will
Yeah,
mess up, show their true colors, and that's just how it goes. It is what it is.
yeah. I mean, I truly subscribe to that axiom. Life is a journey, and so I look at each experience as being a passenger on my journey. You don't
Hmm.
define my journey, but for a brief period, we shared an experience together,
Yeah.
and and I think uh, we have to make the ephemeral and temporary nature of relationships and friendships okay. It is
Yes.
okay. Not every single relationship and friendship and associationship is going to last a lifetime. And it doesn't
Yes.
necessarily make it a bad thing because there are
Hmm.
people, that I consider like brothers and sisters that I, at one point, they were like this with me, and I haven't seen them probably in over 8 years. It was no
Yeah.
love loss, no bad blood. It's just that their journey took them that way. My journey took me this way, and we just don't have that same closeness anymore. And it happens, and it's perfectly okay. It's also perfectly okay to realize that you know, you guys can have a season together, and that season
Hmm.
may have came to an end. But then there'll be those times where you meet that friend, and that might be your lifelong friend. Where when you both are in your 60s, you guys are still cool. So you do meet
Yeah.
those different types of people. And I just think, I try to look at everything. I look at the earth So I'm incarnated, right, into a body. I'm a spirit in this meat vehicle, and some other humans decide to call me Hoyt. And
Yeah.
I have a compository of experiences, emotions, neurotransmitters, other chemicals that make up my personality. And I'm
Yeah.
experiencing this thing that we call life in a place that we call Earth. And this is a university to me. This is my spiritual university. And all of these
Yeah.
things are lessons that I'm learning and I'm picking up in this
Yeah.
incarnation. And so I try to have the mentality to not look at something as a loss. I try to have the mentality to not, even though people may have wronged me, and even though I'm not an angel, I may have wronged other people as well. You know, we have to
Yeah.
acknowledge our own duality. We have to
Yeah.
acknowledge our yin and yang. But I'm looking at it as all lessons. And what do I learn from this experience? And how, like you said so eloquently, to not let these experiences change us. So we're getting to the end of the episode, and so I want to let you end this off about whatever you want to talk about. If there's something on your heart, if you want to shout out Whole Division Podcast, and also after I save this episode, I might have to shoot you another email. I want to chop it up with you for like 2 or 3 minutes after this is over, really quick, before I let you go
Yeah.
for the day. But
Yeah.
yeah, anything you want to like talk about, just go ahead, speak it to the people.
So just so one thing for fun, look into your natal chart if you haven't, because it's fun and it's actually good to learn about yourself. Might teach you something about yourself as well. And also as well, it's just, like I said, it's easier said than done, but you cannot allow life's experiences to define you. Do not let them, change who you are. If you're a good person, be a good person, continue to be a good person and do good things. None of us are perfect. No one ever said that anyone was perfect, but you know who you are. As long as you know who you are, just be true to yourself when, being that person, and just always strive to be a better version than you were yesterday. Never look at external things to uplift you. Because somebody who loves you today, they're going to say they hate you tomorrow. So you can't ever look at external things. They will say good things about you, and then they'll talk shit about you in turn. It goes hand in hand. And also just, I'll just end by saying one thing that is something, an old man said this to me once. He said, nothing lasts forever, and forever never lasts. Nothing lasts forever, and forever never lasts. And it's only now, as I'm getting older, that really, 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 it hits different now. At the age of 35, I'm like, you know what? That really, really makes sense. And it goes for everything. So, yeah, man, just keep going and keep pushing and just keep shining. Follow the podcast page, Hold the Vision Podcast on Instagram. You can follow my personal page, which is I Breathe It All In, Love It All Out. I post some quotes. I try to, put out good energy and raise a vibration and stuff. But yeah, man, this has been, as always, it's been amazing. Obviously, you're gonna come back on. You have to come back on but you know what? You're like family now. You're like
Oh
the
yeah,
member of
yeah.
the team.
Listen,
It
I
ain't right
love
without you.
I love, hey, listen, I'm going to tell you something I didn't know until this last podcast, and we'll chop it up a little bit after we end this episode. I'm going to hit you back and we'll chop it up. I did not
Yeah.
know how funny Milan was. I didn't know
She's
she
amazing.
had me dead over here. I did not know she was that funny. Oh my God.
I had to post the clip because I go through the episode and I edited stuff, but I came across that part when you were talking, you were trying to say, and can I put this out there? Hoyt thinks that having man flu is just as bad as giving birth. Right? I lost
Oh
so much
God.
respect. But I found the clip and I had to post it, and I was laughing. So I watched that clip so many times, She
Yes,
is so funny.
she is hilarious, but it's always dope linking with y'all. And I want to thank you for coming on episode 75. I want to do something where I want to have you and Sticky come on. We do a three-way podcast, and just chop it up. That might be something we can do later on in the year, maybe, or well, this year's damn near almost over, really, so. Yeah, so it might be the very end of the year, or maybe like bust into 2022, And, we kind of do an episode, at the top of the year. But thank you again. And also, for those of you just listening, this is the No Truths Barred podcast. Thank you for looking at this episode. Make sure you follow my brand new page. And if you see my new page, I don't have no followers. So please come follow. So it's the _ No Truths Barred podcast. The YouTube channel is No Truths Barred podcast. Also, the link for the YouTube channel is in my Instagram bio. So make sure you go there. I want to thank my great and powerful guests for coming on today. This was a dope episode. And stay tuned. I'll be back next week with episode 76 of No Truths Barred. Much love, light, and peace.